Thank you, worship team. That's good, wasn't it? Hey, we're doing a little different Sunday. We are given a report on a missions trip we went on about 2 months ago. Our church has a rich history of missions trips. Since I've been here, we've been encouraging people to go down to Mexico, go to Indonesia, go to Africa. We've been to Russia. We sent kids all over and young people all over. We decided to have places for adults to go on mission trips, and so we've gone through Samaritan's Purse, and a team of guys went up to Alaska and built a youth center up for them a couple years ago. And then we looked into, and Rick Silvers was instrumental, and says, I'd like to get a team together and dig a well for people that don't have clean water. And so he contacted a group called Living Waters. And so about a year ago, about this time, he contacted Living Waters, and he put in the bulletin, like you read all the time, says, if you're interested in going on a church or missions trip, to dig a well, meet. There was 12 of us that met, and this is crazy because usually there's like an attrition. 12 of us met, and the same 12 went, okay? That's very rare, okay? So that was cool that went. A couple things about the missions trip. We went through an organization called Living Waters. Everyone that went was 50 years and older, correct? Is that right? We had 3 70-year-olds. So some of you are saying, oh, no, I can't do that. You're going to hear Margaret. She's going to come up. She's going to say, oh, yes, you can. So just a couple of things. You know, those mission trips cost. We were going to this village. We're going to Nicaragua. It was the second poorest country in the world. I've been through real countries. This is poor. And we went there, and the job was to dig a well, and there was the ladies' team would work with hygiene. They're going to talk about that. But it cost us $1,900 to go. And a lot of the team members going, that was like a big step of faith. And so what we did right away, we had fundraisers. We had one at the Scotia Inn, and we had a meal, and then we had an auction. We had a lot of things that took place. We sold raffle off firewood. We had a bunch of fundraisers that contributed to you as a body. If you came and you bought a raffle ticket or came to one of those meals, you as a body helped us pay for 900 of the 1,900. Every one of us from fundraising had 900. That's amazing, isn't it? So thank you, thank you, thank you. And there's a passage I want to read and kind of talk about because this is kind of what we're talking about. It's in 1 Corinthians 3, and it says this. It says, for the one who says, beginning with verse 4, I am of Apollos, and I am of Paul, I am of Apollos. Are you not mere men? What then is Apollos? What then is Paul? Servants through whom you believed, even as the Lord gave opportunity to each one. I planted, Apollos watered. God was causing the growth. So neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but God who causes the growth. Now he who plants and he who waters are one, but will receive his own reward according to his own labor. For we are God's fellow workers. You are God's field, God's building. According to the grace of God which is given to me, like a wise master builder, I laid a foundation, and another is building on it. But each man must be careful how he builds on it. And I just want to share with you that, you know, many of you were involved with participating in the fundraisers. We pass out a prayer card like this somewhere along the journey, and we ask you to pray for us. I can't tell you how important prayer is, and we're going to tell you how it really didn't start out great, and so it was kind of an amazing trip to begin with. And just to know, and this is kind of a picture we took going to the place we're going, that's on the cover. That was a kid hovered around a well that Living Waters had done on another project. And I stopped the van, and we all jumped out, and we took this picture, and that kind of captures it all. And just imagine looking into a well that you have to drink from, that you have to bathe from, that you have to do everything from, and down there is garbage. Imagine where we went, which was the compound. The compound we went into, high 12-foot walls, barbed wire. There's a guard there all night with a shotgun because it's dangerous. But the place that we're at, the compound we're at, we could not let water get into our mouth when you're showering. You couldn't take your toothbrush and run underneath the faucet because you get really sick. So everything that you take for granted is out the door. And so it was an amazing trip. Each person is going to come, and they're going to share different aspects of it. There's going to be slides up in the background, and then I'm going to bracket it, and then we're going to partake of communion. But just listen to this trip, and maybe if God stirs in you, just, hey, maybe I want to go on that. Remember, 70's not too old. So, but he's not 70, but Bill's going to start it off with, he's going to start talking about the drilling aspect of it.
Good morning. Yeah, Pastor Mike stole my opening line. I'm not one of the 70-year-olds, but I'm a little above 50 also. I'm going to try to shorten this up from my earlier presentation. When I met with Rick last year, and he approached me about this project, I was interested because he said it was drilling a well. So doing something is something I like to do. I'm very good at doing nothing, but if I can do something and accomplish something worthwhile, especially, I'm all for that. So we met the first time, and after that, our first group meeting, I'd kind of decided before I left that I would go. But after that first meeting, all the people there, I knew that I made the right decision that I'm going to go. So what's drilling a well? I've drilled a lot of things in my life, a lot of holes in wood, in metal, in my hand a time or two, and I've dug hundreds of post holes, but I'd never drilled a well. So that interested me. So what is drilling a well? I know there's some slides going in the background. So to shorten it up a little bit, the water that they drink in Nicaragua, especially in the village where we went to, they have an open well that's 65 feet deep. And to walk up and look down into that well and see the water down there and see plastic bottles and who knows what floating in it. But their bucket, which is on a rope that they pull the water out of each day for all that they need water for drinking, for bathing, for cooking, for their animals, it's water like we would take out of a mud puddle. And so it's not the best water. So at 65 feet, we knew we had to drill at least that deep. But our head driller, Frank, said that we're going to go at least to 85 feet because that's an aquifer at a different level. That's going to be even better and cleaner water. So once we got the drill rig set up and we learned each of the process of that, we broke into two teams and started drilling. And the first 40 feet or so went really quickly. But that's adding 5 feet of drill pipe every time you go down 5 feet. The pipes are weigh about 50 to 60 pounds apiece. It's a process that we have to do to add pipe as the bit goes further into the ground. But so on the first day, we got down to 85 feet. That's 17 sections of 5-foot pipe. So once we're in the ground, then it all has to come back out. And of course, it's operated hydraulically, so we didn't have to actually pull each pipe out of the ground, but as it come up, then we had to unscrew it with big pipe wrenches and cheater pipes, take it all apart, clean it back up, put it back on the drill rig, and then get ready for the next day. The second day, we went down from 85 feet to 95 feet. That 10 feet took almost an hour because we were drilling through rock. We had to change bits to a rock bit. That went further into the ground. We broke for lunch, and after lunch, we went the final 15 feet. So we stopped at 110 feet. So we had a well. We were down that far. We had to pull all that pipe back up out of the hole and get ready for the next day, which was after we'd put the well casing in, and well casing is about 6-inch diameter PVC pipe. That had to go down section by section into the hole, and we capped it off a little bit at the top to kind of seal it off with some gravel and dirt. And on the third day, on Wednesday, we cleaned the well out using a large air compressor by putting a pipe down inside the well casing, blowing it out with air pressure, and then letting the water flush back in, blow it back out. That worked well until the air compressor quit late that afternoon. So we were done with that part of it. But we'd completed our well by Thursday. We put in the actual plumbing for the pump, installed the pump, brought water up to the surface. So we knew we had good water, we had a good well. It was a huge process. A lot really goes into it, and it's all teamwork. It took all 8 of us on the drilling team, plus Frank and his assistant, to accomplish each of those tasks every day. So the teamwork part of it was really what brought us all together, as it did all other aspects of the trip, from the planning of it to the fundraising, to the trip down there while we were there, and on the way back. We couldn't use the water from our well on Thursday after the dedication because it wasn't clean enough yet, because we were unable to blow it out completely. So Frank had to add some disinfectant into it and let it sit for 48 hours. But so on Saturday at noon, we knew that they were going to be using the water from that well, using the pump that we'd help install. And but by then we were back in Houston. We were lounging around the airport, but we kind of knew it at noon that we were going to be that they were going to be using that water that that we had helped provide for them. There's a lot of other aspects of this trip that others will touch on, but my final thing is that I learned a lot on this trip, as I try to learn, especially every day, but especially what I try to learn like in coming to church, in our Bible study, and the discussions we have with people. So on this, I learned how a well is drilled, how it's cleaned and made ready to use, how teamwork is an essential part of such a job, how important water is, especially clean water, to all of us, and how each of us can come together through the Holy Spirit to be a part of something like this. So thank you to all that have helped with the fundraising, with your support, both in prayers and especially to my family who encourages me to go on things like this. And to anyone who's thinking about doing something like this, either very shortly or in the future, try it, you'll like it, and we'll help you get there. Thank you.
Good morning. I just love it how God always gives you what you need when you need it. And even today, he was speaking to me through the music. And I love how we were singing, "You're Making Me New," because to me, that's what was going on with all of us when we were over there. I think he was working in each of us, and he was making us new. And I just wanted to start with that. But I am going to share with you about the hygiene team. I was on the hygiene team along with Stella and Margaret and Melissa. And it was our responsibility every day to teach a hygiene lesson, a Bible lesson, and a craft. And we really didn't know what to expect that first day, but we did have about 10 moms, and it was moms and children that we were teaching. And they would come after school. The kids would get home from school about 12, and we would have our class at 1 o'clock. And I don't speak very much Spanish at all, but Living Water provided us with a sweet little girl named Lizette who translated for us the whole time. But we did the prepping. It was our lesson. She just translated for us. So the first day we taught a little bit about germs and how germs were transmitted. And so we put lotion on our hands and glitter on our hands and shook all their hands. And we also had a craft that involved glitter that day. Well, by the end of that day, we had glitter. The glitter was in the kids' hair. It was on their faces. Glitter was everywhere. But it was a great day just to start off and start forming relationships with the children and the moms. And after we were finished with that, we had a tote full of just simple toys, a lot of things that a lot of you gave art supplies and gave toys, and we got that out and began to play with the children. And they were coloring books and crayons, bubbles, jump ropes, very basic toys for by our kids' standards, but those children just lit up when they saw all of that. And along with that, they lit up to us, and that was what was so special. I mean, we were strangers to them, and they just wrapped their arms around us. They were in our laps. Even the older kids loved doing the puzzles, bubbles. It was just a really it was a great first day. We started off really great. On our second day, we had 20 in our class, and that was pretty cool. Except that they were so anxious to come. We had all of the chairs set up, and they were all in their chairs at 12:30, and the rest of the team was prepping over in the van, and I was the only one there, and they're all looking at me with their smiling faces, and I'm like, "Uno o'clock, uno o'clock." But they were still smiling at me, expecting something, so it's like, Lord, what am I going to do? And 2 words came to me, hokey pokey. So we did several rounds of that. Team finally got together, and we had a great lesson that day. And the following day, there was 40 people. There were more adults. You see, I think what happened is word got around to the neighboring villages that there were some gringos over there that were sprinkling glitter all over the children and doing strange dances, and they wanted to come and check us out. But we were glad they were there. And that day, our Bible lesson was the lost sheep. And to go along with that, we did a craft with paper plates, and we had cotton balls all over it and little ears, and we made masks. And moms were into it. Even the teenagers were into it. We couldn't get those masks tied on them fast enough. And pretty soon we looked out, and there was a field of these precious sheep. So we did a parade around the village. We went down to where the drilling team was, and that kind of stopped production for a little bit, took pictures, and it was just an awesome day. I just want to share with you a little bit personally about how God blessed me. We were told in the literature and by the director that even though, we were focusing on this well, that it was very important that we also focused on relationships with the people in the village. And to me, that's what it was about. That's really what hit with me is that I think of the verse that says, "Let your light shine before men so he can see your good works and glorify the Lord in heaven." And I feel like that we did shine our lights on these people and show them God's love through our relationships. I felt so honored to be a part of this team. And I was amazed at how every single person stepped up to the plate and did beyond what was expected to make sure that the people knew that we loved them and ultimately that God loved them. And this morning, God was still talking to me, and through my devotionals I was reading Jesus Calling, and people asked me, how have you changed, or do you feel differently since you've been back? And all I could really say is, I just feel full. Well, then this verse came to me today in my devotionals. It says, "Let the light of my love fill you." And that's it. Lord filled me up with joy. I have a new family in Nicaragua to think about and to pray for. And I just want to say to you that if you've ever considered going on a mission trip, and even if you haven't, if you're feeling spiritually low, I want you to think about stepping out in faith and going on a mission trip, because you will feel filled to the brim. Thank you.
Hi. Any of you who know me know that I'm extremely outgoing, but this is very difficult for me, so bear with me. About 3 years ago, I believe, the Children of the World Choir came to this church, and it was about the 3rd time I had seen them, and it's just amazing and moving. And the last time I saw them, their message was about clean water. And it really touched me, but I thought, what can I do? What can I do as a person? And, give money, whatever. So the thought kind of went out of my head a bit. And about a year ago, I see a message in the bulletin that says there's a mission trip to Nicaragua for drilling water. And I looked at my husband, Dave, and I said, "Look at that. Don't you want to go?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well, I do, and I'm going to go. I'm going to go to the first meeting." So I went to the first meeting, and Rick Silvers had I've known him for years, and he was kind of the lead on the trip, and I knew I would be physically safe in a third world country because he was a policeman, and I knew he would keep me safe. So I felt comfortable in that, and I walked into the first meeting, and Gene Gadino, the funny guy he is, said, "I think you're in the wrong meeting. This isn't about the cruise." And I thought, wow, that wasn't very nice, but little did I know, he was pretty right. The trip started out very difficult. We had raised all our money and all that. That's not what I meant. But we were all supposed to meet at the church at 2 a.m., 2:15, 3 o'clock, I don't know, early in the morning, drive to McKinleyville in the church vans, and get on the plane, fly to San Francisco, and then on to Nicaragua. Well, I had just fallen asleep, and I got a call from Ron Berginski's wife, and she said, "Ron got a message that the flight was canceled." But I'm shaking because I'm thinking my phone's ringing in the middle of the night, somebody's sick, can't go. It was just a wreck. But he said, "I'll call the men, you call the women. We need to meet at the church at," I think it was 1:45. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I call everyone. Some of the men had to literally knock on doors to wake people up. We literally had to fly ourselves in vans to San Francisco. It was like just crazy. I don't remember the trip to San Francisco hardly at all because you're tired and emotional and thinking, Stella, my friend's like, in the back seat, we're never going to make it. We're never going to make that connecting flight. And we're just going around those corners. Those guys drove us like crazy. So anyway, that was all great. We get to the compound, they call it, and you're just so exhausted. All you want to do is go to bed. And I walked into our room, 5 women, 1 bathroom, 5 little tiny beds, little skinny mattresses, 1 bunk that my friend Stella volunteered to take. I just knew I wasn't going to get up and down that ladder in the middle of the night. I'm thinking, maybe I should have done the cruise. I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this is going to be tough. I'm very modest, 1 bathroom. I knew we were going to all get diarrhea. It just happens. And literally no cold water no hot water in the shower. We all had to bring our own towel. It sounds, like a little thing, but it's hard to adjust. No place to put your Bible, no reading light, no place to put your suitcase. Bring your own towel, but no place to hang it up. And thinking, this is going to be kind of tough. I wasn't so worried about, the digging the well or anything like that. I just thought the living situation would be a little difficult for me. And the next morning, probably 2 mornings later, we get in the van and we go to this amazingly beautiful village of people that have nothing. And they're sweeping their dirt with brooms that they've made themselves. And it was just so touching. And it's like a park-like setting in the most poor place I've ever been. And it makes you think about, we're like in a 5-star hotel where we were compared to what they had. And we walked around and took pictures, and the people were so proud of everything they had, proud of their homes, proud of everything, and clean and beautiful people. And walking around taking pictures, I see, the women pulling up this dirty water from the well, and soon I see a woman go to this little shack, kind of a place, literally metal building, small, with no top on it, and her shower is dirty water being poured over her head. And it just really is eye-opening. And it was just the most amazing experience of my life. Bonding with the people, seeing this man, our pastor, is the most amazing, giving, hardworking man I've ever known. And I didn't say this last time, but it just really stuck in my head. The people in the little compound fed us like amazing meals every day, and really tried to make things kind of American for us. You know, they were feeding us spaghetti, and we really liked the Nicaraguan food, forget the spaghetti, but they just really wanted to please us. And I will tell you, Mike never ate until everybody ate. Do you need a drink? Does anyone need anything? Amazing. And thank you for allowing us to go. It was really a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Hi. Hi there. So if Jeannie was nervous, I'm really nervous because my name is Stella, and I'd like to thank the Hydesville Community Church and its community for allowing me to go on a mission trip with your church. A faith-based water mission trip has been something that I've wanted to do my whole life, because even as a little girl, I can remember thinking, there really are people on this planet that don't have water? Clean water that they can drink, that they can bathe their children in, that they can wash their vegetables in. So it was always something that was curious to me. And you know, when I think about my trip, I think about the word poverty, because I think that poverty is kind of a curious word. We all fear it. We spend most of our lives trying to prevent it. We spend most of our lives hoping it doesn't happen to us or somebody that we love. And we also spend a little bit of time judging it. I'll tell you that the village that we went to in Nicaragua, and when I share my story, I really am talking about the village, because there were two aspects of our trip. One was the village where the people were that we got to help, and then there was the big cities of Managua. Managua was a scary, dark, sinister place. I was really, truly scared, even inside the van on our way to the hotel. But in the village, you know, they truly are the meaning of dirt poor. Jeannie's right. I mean, they lived in little homes with dirt floors shared with their pigs and their chickens, but not a refrigerator, not a TV, not an iPad, not a freezer, and in some instances, not even lights. But what I recognized in their faces was sort of a beauty in their poverty, because they were truly a community that cared about each other. You know, water wasn't a public utility that could be turned on or turned off, that they expected when they turned on their sink. It was something that they as a community worked for before we were there and now work for after. It's their well. They get to maintain it. They get to take pride in it. They get to do what they need to keep it clean and safe. But what we get is to take home the feelings that we had while we were there witnessing their beautiful faces. People ask me, you know, what do you think? What can you say about your trip or the people? And I say that the need was greater, but the people were softer. They were just generous with the little things that they had. They were generous in their hearts and with their children and with their people. And I just feel really blessed that I was able to go.